Okay, so I got the kids Wheelie King, and I wanted to make it four-wheel steering because we got the low-range gearbox and we got lockers, and after we put the lockers in there, it wouldn't steer very sharp and basically just drives it around inside, and when it doesn't steer sharp, it isn't very much fun. So I wanted to make it four-wheel steering, but I wanted to do it the cheapest way possible. And I couldn't find any good videos on YouTube or whatever of people doing it the cheapest way. There's a lot of people that have it like crazy, converted to rock crawler, and they got a lot of money in it. I just wanted to make it four-wheel steering. So I had these cheap solar servos laying around, and they're like Solar's, I don't know, like their strongest ones. I think they're only like $20, but they're like the strongest, fastest ones they've got. And I put one up in the back originally, or in the front rather, just replaced the stock one to try and get a little more steering, and it helped, but there's still just too much slop and stuff in the factory, all the linkages on the factory in there. But it works. When you're on like carpet or something, the links all flex and it doesn't necessarily steer until you start moving. The servo has plenty of power, but it's just bending the plastic links and stuff. So I got this center mount one from Hot Racing, I think, from Tower Hobbies. I had some e-cash to waste. So anyway, that mount, which you could make yourself, but I just bought it. It's like $18. It comes with the hardware to mount the servo. It comes with, you use the stock hardware down here on the differential housing, and then it comes with this little link here, and it works perfectly. The little ball joint it comes with goes in the factory link, so nobody would ever really want to use this factory link, but I do because I wanted to make it cheap. So it worked out perfect. It came with the new link. The servo obviously came with that plastic horn, and I found the longest hole on that full-size horn there. Worked good, gave me the right amount of throw. So what I did was, this was the front of the Wheelie King, but I wanted that factory OEM plastic linkage stuff to be the rear, and I wanted the front to have the solid mounted servo and have a little more solid feel. So I put this one in the back, which is now the front. I got rid of the little brace that locks out the rear steer. Then I reversed the servo on the controller that it came with, and I reversed the throttle that on the controller it came with. So now forwards is reverse and reverse is forwards and left is right and right is left, or whatever. I turned the tires around so it looks like it's going the right direction. This also puts the battery in the front, which I know is a big deal to all those rock crawler guys trying to get their battery in the front. And I think some of those guys do a lot of unnecessary work. Like this, all I did was just flip the switch on the controller and ta-da, battery's in the front now. There isn't anything to it. I cut the wheelie bar off. I wanted to leave most of it, so it still had like a bumper that stuck out like that, see? But I cut a lot of it off because it extended beyond that with the little roller part for the wheelie bar. So that's what I did. So all I bought was a servo, that Hot Racing brace. Well, the servo I already had, but the Hot Racing brace, $20. I bought a Y harness for the servos, which I didn't need to do. I should have just wired them together and soldered them and saved that $4 or whatever that Y harness was, but whatever. I had e-cash to burn, so about $25 for the mount and the Y harness, and that's all I did. The only thing you have to do is when you're using the like branded servos, you're going to need to reverse one of them manually, because this cheap controller it comes with, obviously it's not like 3-channel where you can put a servo on a 3rd channel and mix them and do it that way. And they're not, well, they are digital servos, I believe, but they're not, there's no, you can't hook them to your computer and have a servo programmer to reverse them that way either. So anyway, I took this servo apart here, and of course the cheap solar servos, the motor is soldered directly to the circuit board, so there's no leads coming off of it to let you easily switch it. So I had to unsolder the motor off the board, turn it around, and soldered it back on, which is a pain, but it worked. And then you swap the 2 outside wires of the 3 wires that go to the pot, or the potentiometer, or whatever they call it. And that's how you do it. You can't just, swap the red and black on the servo wire going in the receiver, and you can't just only swap the motor, only swap the pot. You got to swap the motor and the pot, leave the servo wires the same. That's how you do it. And it didn't look like doing any other combination of that affected it, because I pretty much tried everything possible without unsoldering the motor off the circuit board, and it always just killed it. Nothing would work. And I unplugged the servo. The other servo works. Motor, speed control works. But when you plugged the modified servo in, any of those other ways, it just basically like canceled the truck out and killed it. So anyway, works now though. So for $25, 4-wheel steering, could have been just the 18, unless you got to buy a servo, and then I guess you got a little bit more money into it. This mounting it underneath like this, it does hit, so that's bottomed out on the servo there, and it has more travel to go. Now the articulation isn't affected all that much. See, it's still the articulation is pretty good still. So you can see that there. It didn't really affect that at all. I think this motor mount, or this servo mount, is probably supposed to be used with the Crawler King, which has longer arms and or has that high link mount on the axle right here for the suspension, and this lower of the 4-link. I don't know if the aluminum arms on the Crawler King are actually any longer. I'm not sure. That's something I'm curious about. So I think if you did that, it's going to rotate the axle, and it's going to make the servo, let's see if I can get a picture of it. You can see the servo is kind of tipped down. It'll tip the servo back and then give more clearance, I believe. So if I find those high link axle mounts here, this part right there, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, that part right under there. If I can find those cheap enough on eBay, I might buy some if they're just a couple bucks, just to try them. But anyway, let's see what it looks like here. It is pretty funny. Oh crap. Hold on, gotta put the batteries back in the controller. Dang it. Okay. Alright. See this thing. So there it goes, forwards, and 4-wheel steering. Dang. There we go. Turned pretty sharp. That's it. We'll see if the front battery helps at all when it's crawling. I don't know. Oh. Alright, well. That's like a 10-pound mat that it just pushed out. Let's see if we can climb that. Well, if the door was open, I doubt it would go in there. Really doubt it. No. See if I can climb that at an angle. Oh, anyway, that's it.